Welcome to the Be Better Off Show. Our guest today, a 2012 interview I did with Mike Cannon-Brookes. Now, at the time, it was the event was the launch of my book, Business Owner's Wisdom, which featured an interview with Mike that we'll share with you at the bottom of this page. In this interview, it's quite interesting. You're going to hear the foundational ideas that at the time the company was worth about 300 million. Today it's worth over 20 billion US dollars. And I think it's very rare and unusual to be able to hear a guy share with you these ideas that helped him shape up what has become undoubtedly a world-renowned company. So I encourage you to have a listen. I'd love to hear your feedback. Have a great day.
You're listening to the Be Better Off Show by Kelly Partners.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's fantastic to have Mike here today. At such a young age to have built, as I mentioned earlier, a book that a business that Fortune have described as being to software what Apple is to design, I think is an enormous endorsement. So I guess I wanted to start at the beginning, Mike, and just say, how did this business start?
Well, the simple answer is neither of us wanted to get a real job. So I have a co-founder, and we decided that we'd try our hand at something. It's kind of been step by step from there. But to be honest, we had very few grand ambitions on day one of being anything like we are today. It was just survive through year one and not look like fools.
Yep. Okay, so today the business has more than 500 employees across 5 offices around the world, is reputedly valued at more than $400 million. When all that happens, how do you feel when, how has that changed you, if you like?
That's a tough question. It feels good. It's some sort of a sense of accomplishment, I suppose. I mean, when you look back, it sort of all seems like a big blur. There's no point where you actually think it's done. I think we won't be sort of celebrating until we feel like we've got less in front of us than behind us, if you like. So we're both business builder people. We're not really business maintainers, probably very crap managers and all that sort of thing. But we still feel like the bulk of our journey in the business is in front of us. So maybe when that finishes, or everything reaches a natural sort of point, we'll have a little more time to relax and enjoy.
Okay, now in the book you mentioned that the business is built on 5 core values. Can you share a couple of those, or certainly the ones that most resonate with you, and tell me why has it been so important to in your view, build a business based on these sorts of ideas?
Sure. A couple of things behind that, I guess. One is in the IT space, it's probably the most brutal war for talent that we've ever been in. And I don't know if any industries, I'm sure other industries have been in similar spots, but at the moment, finding the guys who can do the dance, if you like, in terms of programming and the visuals, all that sort of thing, is incredibly globally competitive. So culture is basically the only weapon. I mean, you can only lose. We've always maintained that you can't win people with money. You can't throw more money at them. They're not going to want a better job. You can lose people by paying them too little. But basically, the values and culture of the business, that sort of long-term viral referral from every employee to every other employee to say, I know I've got a mate that works at Atlassian. Yeah, he loves it. You should definitely go for a job there, is kind of one of our core competitive weapons. And we realized that very early. The second reason the values came about was as founders, when we were early in the business, you've got 20 people, 40 people, etc. It's one-on-one. Yep. So you scale yourself very easily by talking to everybody. As soon as that stops being, and you meet someone in the business that doesn't share the values, you're suddenly like, wait, why is this? And we quickly realized we needed to codify the things that we never wanted to lose about who we were at that time.
So give us some of those examples.
Sure. So we have a few rather controversial ones. So open company, no bullshit has always been a very big motto inside the company. Yeah. And then when we wrote them down, that was obviously there, and it sort of speaks to itself. To an Australian audience, that's probably not a revolutionary thing. Yep. Americans all titter and find it hilarious, and you kind of, when you say open, you don't really mean open. And we're like, no, we call a spade, and we want everybody inside the business to do that. My favourite is built with heart and balance. Yep. What
does that mean?
Well, what it means is it's basically admitting to employees that in any growth business, we have to make a lot of very difficult decisions on a regular basis. Yep. And all of those decisions require a very balanced judgment, so considering all of the options and making a balanced decision. and require a degree of caring, right? Whether it's letting someone go or choosing whether or not to go with a project or whatever, there's going to be someone on the other side of the decision who's upset about it. And the whole business has to understand that we've tried to make that decision in the most balanced and caring way as possible. But at the same time, we're going to make that hard decision, right? We're not going to avoid it for the sake of not hurting people's feelings. But we're
so this is one of the most interesting things that I guess I heard from Mike in terms of the interview when I was sitting there, is that in high growth businesses, what's most likely to happen is that you're going to outgrow people, because a business can grow, that's the cumulative effort of a lot of people, a lot faster than an individual can grow. So often you see at different stages where Michael was reflecting that they were letting people go because they just simply had outgrown them. So this concept of I guess building with heart and balance, just accepting that that's what it is, but trying to be genuine and open in dealing with that.
Yeah, and we've always tried to maintain to everybody internally that, look, it's a big journey that we're on, and anybody, it doesn't matter if you've been with us for 5 days or 5 years, right? You wrote a piece of that history and you contributed to a piece of that history. That doesn't necessarily mean you have a contributory role to the future. Now, we'd love it if everybody did, but there are a lot of roles that we just scale beyond, right? And it's a really hard thing for any growth business to deal with. You talk to anybody who's grown really fast, it naturally happens, and we're just trying to be honest with employees and everybody about saying, hey, it naturally happens. You know, we'll try to be balanced. We'll try to find you other jobs, either inside or outside the company, but in no way should that diminish the contribution. Some of those guys in those roles, unfortunately, they work really hard to contribute to the growth. Yeah. And then they realise they've kicked off a snowball that's gone beyond them. And that's sort of the way it is. But we're just trying to be open with them about that, and so they understand that we care about their contributions as well.
Yep. Now you mentioned that, and I think this is very interesting to me, is that a lot of people look now at Mike and his partner and say, look at this great business, they made all this money, isn't that fantastic? But can you share with everyone, because I thought it was intimate and important for people to understand that with many, many years where you just drew virtually no money out of this business.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we couldn't raise any capital when we started. 2002, if you know anything about tech cycles, 2002 was nuclear winter for tech. Everything had gone pear-shaped in 2000, 2001. All the money disappeared. Everybody who came out of consulting went back to consulting, and there was just nobody around, so we didn't really have a hope in hell of raising any money. So we kind of had to pay ourselves nothing at the start. And, again, we had the luxury, and I don't call it a risk, we had the luxury of being effectively university students. We had very cheap, modest lifestyles. And so in that way, we hit the right place at the right time. I mean, we couldn't do that nowadays. Both of us have wives and children and things, and, living on $200 a week is probably not... Well, so it's a real advantage to be, So a real advantage. Neither would my son, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. So a real advantage to be building this business young, before you're married, before you've got kids, before you've got responsibilities and real need for...
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, people always talk about entrepreneurs taking a risk, but if you're going to take a risk, straight out of university or at that age, the risk, is very low. The cost of your career is extremely low. The cost of your family, people around you, is very low. So I think that's the best time for people to do it.
And if it comes off, great. And if it doesn't,
get a job. I admire the 40-plus-year-old guys with wives, kids, mortgages, etc. that go start another business. That's real risk. That's heart and mouth stuff.
Risk to their family. Yeah. Absolutely. So as you now look forward and you hear the sort of plaudits that the business has got, I guess how did you choose this partner that you've got in the business? I found that very interesting.
You mean Scott, in terms of co-founder?
Or your co-founder, and then next your private equity partner.
Oh, right, okay. In choosing a co-founder, everyone asks what the secret sauce is to that. I don't know, there is one really. We looked at each other, and we've answered this question hundreds of times, right? But the only thing we knew is we're both pretty smart. We both seem to be pretty hardworking. We like to beer, and he's a sort of bloke I want to be. He's a scout leader. It's like that kind of typifies it all. You're like, yep, if he's got a penknife and we're in the bush, we're kind of going to be all right. Yeah. But you don't know anymore at that stage. That's the thing, is like when you're picking co, people are like, well, what experience do they have, this and that. It's like, well, we had none, but I had none, so it's the same thing. And you sort of make the best choice you can, and a lot of co-founding relationships bust up, and a lot of them stick the distance, right? And we've now had such a shared journey and a shared learning over 10 years that we can sort of finish each other's stories really quickly. It's a sort of a weird relationship that develops.
And how does that work now in the business? Who takes responsibility for what?
So at different times we've run the whole business independently, where one of us has been on a special project. So I went over to start up in the US, the office over there for about a year, 18 months, and he kind of ran the whole shop from Sydney. And then I came back and basically ran the whole shop, and he went and did a few other special projects, and we sort of jumped back and forth. Right now we basically have approximately half the management team, so the whole US office still reports up to me, etc. And he runs the finance and engineering parts of the business. So. We have it split pretty much 50-50.
Okay, and then when you had grown this business, you needed to bring in a partner or thought it might be advantageous. You were looking to get involved with a private equity group. Can you share with people just how you ran that process? Because I thought this was intelligent, mature, and assertive.
Sure. Look, my favourite subject at university, I did a series of courses on game theory, and we've employed that in the business very many times. And game theory usually means other people are pissed off because you're taking their nice salesmanship world and turning it up on its head with some sort of clever way of doing things. And we did that. So we were lucky enough by then, so we're about 7 years into the business, to have a whole series of private equity people from seed funds and through VC funds, and we'd gotten to the stage of size that we had the real sort of private equity, capital P, capital E, guys coming to want to put money into the business, which is flattering. And we'd said, no, we're not interested. We're not interested for years and years. And we had one decision point to take, so we were about 7.5 years in, as I said, and we could kind of have done anything at that stage. And so we took ourselves away and went and had some beers and decided what we wanted to do. Did we want to sell and get out? 10 years, plenty of time to go do something else, or did we want to recommit for sort of the next 7 years? It seemed like a good time. And we both decided that we weren't done. We had plenty that we wanted to do, so we decided to recommit, which is why we went to look for capital. And then we went to 5 firms, all of whom we've met. Our PA maintained a spreadsheet. We had probably 70, 80 firms on the spreadsheet that had contacted us. And we just went to the ones that we had a good personal relationship with. So we didn't pick on the basis of brand or anything. We met 2 or 3 folks from each one over a 6-year period, and picked the guys that we wanted to work with, right? The guys that we felt
comfortable with,
we'd have a beer with, etc. And then we ran the process very much on our own terms. I always tell entrepreneurs, we were in the driving seat. We knew that, so we ran our process. We told them the rules would be that they'd get one pitch, that they could ask any question, but every question they asked, all the information would be instantly shared with everybody. We had one shared file system. They all understood who else was involved. So it was a very, very open sort of level playing field. We gave them a clear set of criteria that we'd be making the decision on. Not just financially, but the people, the references they had, the contacts they could bring to the business, the help they would bring to us, etc. And then we gave them one bid basically at what they were doing.
And did you then choose on price, or did you choose a combination?
No. We had some favourites running in, I think, and then they sort of got jumbled around a little bit. And we were lucky enough that 1 or 2 firms came up pretty much near the top on all things. And so then, price was certainly determined. It was one of about 4 factors, but the guys we chose, Excel Partners, who I have nothing but respect for, they've been awesome. So 2.5 years in, I can tell you they've been really useful. They were pretty much number one or equal number one on a number of categories, so that was good.
That's how you chose them. Now share, I guess, if you would, more broadly, this understanding of software. In the book, you mentioned how today major companies have to be software companies.
Sure.
Can you share that with people? Because I thought that was very interesting.
A lot of people don't realise it, but my personal theory is that software is pretty much the only strategic advantage nowadays. Like, everything else gets so quickly copied so fast, and software is really hard. And basically what you've seen over the last 10 years, and look, no bullshit aside, 10 years ago we didn't see this at all. We've kind of ridden a wave, and we've been studying the wave that we're riding and trying to work out why we're riding it, and then learning from it, and getting back on top of it, sort of thing. So it's not a sort of long-term vision we've had for a long time. But what you've seen over the last 10 years is really software moving from a very operational thing. Some guys in the basement down there, they write some code, we tell them to write, they write it, and we move on, or we outsource it or whatever, to very much more of a strategic thing for almost every big business now. And by strategic, I mean, the CEO, the C-level suite, the management get heavily involved in the process. Their products are becoming digitized, right? How many physical products do you buy now? They have an app that's somehow going. I mean, the canonical example, so Nike's a big customer of ours. You know, they don't sell you a pair of shoes anymore. I just happened to buy a new pair of shoes the other day, 3 or 4 days ago, and you open the box and it's advertising for their app on the inside of the box.
Yep. It's got a chip in the shoe.
It's got a chip in the shoe, and I think they don't even have the chip anymore. They've moved on, right? But the point is their shoes, their business is becoming so much more about the software they provide, right? If you look at car manufacturers, I think we talked about this. I don't know if it ended up in the book.
Car manufacturers.
Car manufacturers. You go to the Detroit Auto Show. My wife is from Michigan, so this is what you do. And the Detroit Auto Show, nobody pitches their cars anymore on anything mechanical, right? It's safety systems, it's navigation systems, it's entertainment systems, it's fuel efficiency, which is all driven by computers nowadays. Like the whole car is basically a giant computer with a bunch of wheels stuck to it. So if you want to win in that business, you have to have the engineers, you have to have the people, and that requires all of these different folks in your business to get together. And when we would talk to Nike, the fascinating thing about their transformation is really these digital products that they sell are as important to them as the physical products. Yeah. But they never had to do that before. What they would do is make some shoes, the marketing department would go make some ads, and they'd kind of spit it out, and that was it. Yeah. And now it's like the digital guys go, hey, the app's not ready, we can't ship the shoes. And the shoe guys are going, what? Yeah. What do you mean you can't ship the shoes, right? Yeah. We've made them.
So it's turned these industries upside down.
It's changing the way that they do things, right, and their advantage, right? You think about, I don't know, not picking on anybody, but Puma or Adidas or somebody who doesn't have all this sort of digital technology that Nike does. Yeah. They're on Nike is on version 3 of this whole generation of their business, and those guys trying to catch up is incredibly difficult.
Yeah. No chance anytime soon. So as you look out to the future, what is your hope for the business, and at a personal level, what drives you to keep going?
Well, the hope for the business is always that we don't screw it up from here. We've got more to lose now than we had before. Yeah. I described it to someone else the other day. He said, how would you put it into one sentence? And I said, well, we've taken left foot, right foot in roughly the right direction, and we haven't shot ourselves in the head yet. That's pretty much what we want to keep doing. Yeah. Look, I don't know. I mean, we it's sort of not an open secret, but we're investigating going public in the US and things like that, which would make us pretty much the first Australian tech company to do that. It would be the Australian company. So, that'd be a pretty good, I think, personal achievement for us. And for the business as well, just continuing to professionalise it and see how far we can go. We've got a great start. We're looking at a very big industry, a big opportunity in front of us. So, who knows, 500 people, maybe we look back one day and say, remember when we were only 500 people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And in terms of driving us, I mean, we're still enjoying it, right? I think as soon as we stop learning things, stupidly enough, when the business started, we were both product guys, so we wrote code in the very early days. It's been many, many years since we did that, but we're product guys, and I told somebody in the business that when we hit 40 people, I'd be out the door, because it'd be boring by then. We'd be managing people, and that would kind of be it. That gets brought up regularly internally on somewhat every 6 months. Someone will find it, and it hasn't been as boring as we thought. Right, the managing people, putting together teams has been exciting. So. And I'm sure that learning will start to taper off, and we'll have other challenges at some stage, but we're still having a good time. So.
Excellent. Mike, I guess, ladies and gentlemen, I really want to thank Mike for coming today. He's incredibly busy, as you can imagine, and I guess we just want to do that short time together to give you a sense of what's in the book. There's a lot more, and I don't want to steal all of the book's thunder. Obviously, we could sit here and ask you questions all day.
My PA said that my copy's on my desk. So to read the other.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate and review on Apple Podcasts.
Have a great day.